Hi, my name is Tim Spees with the Peaceful Revolution. Thank you for joining me. The name of this video series is Finding Freedom Through Faith and Love. Now, in order to understand how to find that freedom, we need to properly understand these three words: freedom, faith, and love. In this video, let's take a close look at the concept of freedom. Now, if you ask people what freedom means, most will give you some kind of an answer like, well, it means that I can go anywhere and do anything I want. Now, that answer has a very serious problem. The first part about going anywhere you want is legitimate and fine. If we're locked up in a cell, we absolutely do lack movement or travel freedom, and that's a serious constraint on our lives. But the second issue is doing anything I want is very problematic, because what if I want to do what is wrong? So let's say I like to steal, or I like to cheat, or I like to engage in hurtful sexual activity, or I like to do drugs that are harmful, or I like to use people for my own selfish gain. If I do those things, am I truly free? Freedom has two aspects: internal and external. External freedom is widely held and enjoyed by many people. Internal freedom, on the other hand, is rare, and few people have found it. Internal freedom is found when we are no longer controlled by the three things that bind the human spirit. Those three things are fear and self-pride and selfishness. Internal freedom is found when we no longer are driven by those things, but we're driven by love and by rightness. We're not bound by ambition or competitiveness or greed or envy. Instead, we're guided by love, and thus our motivation in life is to help other people, and especially help other people find the freedom that we have found. Internal freedom is the most important freedom that there is, and that's why the light of the world came. He came to set us free from internal bondage. So, dear viewer or listener, do you have internal freedom? Are you truly free from the control of fear and self-pride and selfishness of your life? As captives, we need to be set free. And please don't let self-pride rise up and protect you from the truth that's being spoken here. For unfortunately, that's what self-pride does. It defends us against truth. As captives, we need to be set free. The light of the world can set us free as we are willing to be. Will you let him set you free? For example, imagine that you're stuck in quicksand and you're filled with fear, and the quicksand is pulling you down, and all you can see is the quicksand in your circumstance. In that case, even if someone comes to rescue you and reaches out to get you, you're not likely to take their hand. You're in such a panic. But if you can see your predicament and overcome your fear, then you can work with the person who's rescuing you to pull you out of the quicksand. Or consider you're swimming out in some deep water and you're drowning, and you're panicked because you're drowning, and you're thrashing and you're filled with fear. If a rescuer comes, a lifeguard comes to try to pull you out at that point, you're likely to hit them and beat them and try to climb on them in order to save yourself, and you'll end up drowning both of you. But if you can overcome the fear and understand your predicament and understand the value of the rescuer, then when the rescuer comes, you're likely to give them your hand or allow them to help you out or to rescue you. So it is with the light's efforts to save us from ourselves. If we're living a selfish and hopeless life with no good purpose, driven by fear and self-pride, then we need to be set free from that life. All we need is a little bit of faith to overcome our fear, and a little humility that will allow us to admit that we've got ourselves into the situation that we're in. please consider people that are addicted to something like drugs or sex or food or phone, some kind of electronic device or entertainment. Those folks are bound by those things very strongly. However, they do have external freedom. They can move about freely and pretty much go where they want. But the internal freedom has them bound, and it's a very obvious bondage for those folks because those things have obvious manifestations. So when these folks are set free, it's very obvious to see them overcome that bondage, and they are now free to pursue good and noble and beautiful things in life. It's the same way with our bondage to the three most fundamental things that cause all these other things. That is our bondage to fear and self-pride and selfishness. Those are the things we need to be set free from. The primary thing that fear drives us to be in bondage to is money and material things. We believe that if we have enough or an abundance of food, clothing, and shelter and these other things, other material things, that will be okay in this world, and that we'll be able to retain our life in this world. And yet, that fear driving us to that materialism is bondage. So therefore, we are not free. The fact is that if we're doing our work, and the work that we do is for anything other than love, then we work for money and are in bondage to it. So please don't let your self-pride defend you from that truth, because it's probably the key truth that can set us free. For the chances are very, very high that you, dear listener or viewer, are in bondage to money or material things. Now here's a little test for that. If the work that you're doing, if you're not willing to do it without getting some kind of material benefit from it, then you're in bondage to money or material things. Or said another way, if you're not willing to do the job you're currently doing unless you get paid for it, then you're in bondage to money. And so there we have it. We are bound. We are in bondage to fear and self-pride and selfishness, and we need to be set free. And the person of Joshua of Nazareth is the one who can set us free. He says, quote, "If you continue in my words or my truths, then you're my follower, and then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Unquote. He said elsewhere, quote, "I am the truth," unquote. So what are you waiting for? Come out of a life of bondage to fear and self-pride and selfishness and all the wrong those things bring to your life and those around you, and come into a life of light and life and freedom. If you are hurting, confused, broken, or at the end of your rope, so to speak, and would like to start a new life without all of the wrong choices, ignorance, and lack of good purpose that led you to where you are right now, then please contact me. If you are a Christian and want to know the difference between merely being some kind of Christian and actually following the real historical Joshua of Nazareth, then please contact me. If you're a Christian and your leaders would not be afraid to debate me at their religious organization's main meeting, I'd be glad to do so. Please contact me. In essence, if you would like to know what is involved in following the real historical Joshua of Nazareth as he reveals himself by his own words in the 4 gospel books, and how he says we ought to be living our lives, then please come join the Peaceful Revolution. My phone number and email address are easily available at the bottom of every page on our website at the following URL. That's www.thepeacefulrevolution.info. Again, that contact information is available at the bottom of every page of our website at www.thepeacefulrevolution.info.